all kinds of surplus property. Yes, at first they all said they didn't have anything, and then we got after people and said,
Yeah,
I knew the fire trucks were there.
Yeah. Even getting rid of the old backhoes.
Yes. I'm not gonna announce the list of problems, but something's on the exception.
Well, what does that have to do with?
If people are actually.
Yeah.
Don't you need a backhoe back?
Yeah.
It won't work good if we have to show up, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Tamp down your prolong.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one. I think Pittsfield's getting rid of it. Yeah.
Yes, yes, everything will be at.
Yeah.
Yes, nobody goes to house, but it's things
What's
that
that? Used up? And run it for 10 more years, right?
Right. Oh, you had a variety of people out there, Sterling.
You know, just in general.
It came
like-
up. Oh, one of the girls.
Hello, how are you?
I'm with Peachy on the New England Patriots winning.
Yeah, oh yeah. They're gonna win.
They had a rough time Sunday though.
Yeah, oh yeah. They're gonna be, it's gonna be a tough season, but they're gonna be right there.
Well, Denver always doesn't fit too. So.
Yeah.
Buffalo and Denver, those two teams I worry about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they'll do just fine.
Unless Brady gets hurt.
That's the only Achilles heel you gotta worry about. He's always had defense in front of him to hold the line. He didn't hit that much. As he's getting older, it's gonna get tougher.
Might have been something that shouldn't have
You see that hit the Bills quarterback cook though?
Huh?
You see that hit the Bills quarterback cook?
Yeah,
I'm
that's
surprised he didn't get thrown out of the game for that.
I know, it should have been.
I see, was it like had a player or is it Oakland had a player that got suspended for the rest of the year?
I think it's Oakland. I don't know, because I, you know, when I'm going through, I put down through the sports style, I don't, I've been busy, but.
It was in the Reddit newspaper today. You want to paper?
Yeah?
Maybe it was against Houston. I think I guess it was against Houston.
Yeah, well, that was a pretty, if that's the one I'm thinking about, that was a pretty nasty hit.
Well, that and he's been.
That's not the first time.
No, he's had 3 other.
Career injury, career type injuries, it could have been.
Right. And he's been talked to after every one of them.
Well, all right, so what do we got here? Schedule. I'm okay. Well, we got a bunch of people being away, that's fine.
Yes,
We really don't need that a few minutes.
Yes. Yes.
Besides, I gotta get my eyeballs dilated tomorrow, so.
Oh, do you have a live?
I'll just wait a little while.
Wait a while.
Yeah, it's up here, so.
Oh, you're all set.
Yeah. When I go to Portland, the end of the month, it's a different story.
Yes, that is. Yeah, so we'll reschedule that because we need to prepare for the recycle.
We need to do it, but we'll figure it out.
I'm ready.
Yeah, that works. And we got the keys to be taken.
When's that?
From the daughter's meeting.
Oh, no, I'll probably get
I was at Knobscott.
Who's the eighth? Just down, I'll forget it. Tuesday, the eighth.
It's a good guy.
We got a lot.
Mike is there to
I'm used to driving.
New Mexico.
Yeah.
I'm sure with the job.
Yeah, it goes with the
No problem.
Yeah. Tomorrow's baby.
After the first.
Nothing except, yeah, that's all right.
Calm down.
That was within the time frame that worked the best.
Is that on Route 1 or? Is that on Route 1?
It's not.
Yeah, basically at the intersection of Route 9, you know, off at the end of the 9, you want to go left. And I'm working with the water. The water.
Oh, you're looking at recycling.
Maybe the third.
a couple times a
I usually go
month.
to Calais and.
Yeah, I go to Palace or Babyville.
I usually go to Calais.
Maybe a
But I
little.
go up to the house.
Yeah, I go over there Route 9. If I go to Machias, like we go to Machias too, and he's Florida Cup. Yeah.
But the airline.
Oh, it's great.
I can't use that excuse anymore. Mine are in the 40s.
Yeah, it's a good shape.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm serious.
Don't matter if it's or not, they have to call in to work.
Yeah, in the summer. Yes, that does not sound good to me. With 3 little children.
Yeah, that's not good, they pass it around. All right, if we got everything here, if we did, we did. Good evening, folks, welcome to the Tuesday, October 1st, 2019, I can't believe I'm saying October 1st already, meeting of the Pittsfield Town Council. Ask that we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. Because there's 4 of us tonight, I'll be voting unless another council member comes in so that we have a quorum. The first item on the agenda this evening is the adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting held on September 17th, 2019. And I would look for a motion from the council.
Will we adopt those minutes?
Second. Questions or comments, faults, anybody see any errors, omissions, anything they want to discuss that need to be changed, or mistakes, or points of interest? No? Okay, not hearing any, I sent you ready to vote. All those in favor of the adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting held on September 17, 2019 as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay? Ayes have it, and the minutes are adopted as presented. Next is presentations, congratulations, and introductions.
So our first presentation is by Annalise, the Vice President of Oliver Associates, and most people in the room know Annalise and have seen her over the years. She is here regarding water operations enhancements that have been taking place and recommendations for the future.
Thank you. So we've been working, helping out the town for several months now. I do want to make mention that I think Chris, your employee, has done an exemplary job filling in the shoes, trying to do a lot of work with one person, and we're quite impressed with his abilities and knowledge, and I just wanted to compliment him in a public forum. He's been very cooperative working with us, and everything we've asked him to do, he's jumped right in, so it's gone pretty well. So we've been kind of just in an interim fashion helping you out, just with supervision activities. We obviously haven't provided him with like full-time labor here on site. We're just here doing kind of just check-ins, supervisory things, bigger picture projects, and providing him with hands-on work when he needs a helping hand. So that's kind of how we've done it. So I just want to kind of go over some of the things we've been working on. When we started out, we went through all the practices and kind of did a full day of looking over what is taking place, and knowing that we can't, because of how we're doing this kind of just as a overall management thing, do every single thing all at once. We kind of bit off the biggest things we thought needed to be addressed. So I'm just going to quickly go over that. So we did a basic evaluation of the system, and we know you've had some water quality concerns for iron and manganese. So we focused on moving that along, trying to address the concerns that the citizens have on that. We've been working with Chris on guidance on issues as they occur, because obviously it's a fairly large system and there are a multitude of things that come up on a weekly basis that he calls us and asks us questions. Dan and I both have been on site several different times to assist, and we've sent a couple of our other employees, so basically there's been some on-site assistance. Our contract includes 9 hours of that without any additional costs. We've definitely put that in and more, and we have not billed for that, just so you know. We've helped out with some repairs to the water treatment plant. That's kind of where we've been focusing quite a bit. And assistance with the routine reporting. We're helping do that every single month to make sure that's done correctly. Chris does all the data collection and sends it to our office, and then we check it and fill out the reports and send it back to Chris to submit, because Chris is still the person who needs to submit the reports. And also helped out with compliance sampling, because that's something that he hadn't done before in his role. So when I say Dan Kiyoseki works for me, and he is a class 4 licensed water operator, and he used to work for the drinking water program. So he's extremely on top of what the regulations are. So he's been helping me out with this. So then on the next slide, at the treatment system itself, we've been focusing on the operations on site. Basically, we first reviewed the operation of the carbon dioxide removal system. I've been referring to it often as a radon removal system, because it does also remove radon, but that's not why it was installed. Actually didn't know that coming into this. I always thought it was there to remove radon, but the issue that it's necessary for is carbon dioxide stripping. So it's used for corrosion control to optimize lead and copper. You have an old system, so systems like this, you want to maintain a somewhat elevated pH leaving the treatment plant. So we evaluated the operation of that. There was some issues with it, and some equipment has been ordered to fix it and optimize it completely. Right now we have one blower running, that's been repaired. It was running in manual, now it's in automatic, so that it comes automatically with the blower, with the operation of the units. So basically when the well pumps come on, the unit comes on. So that's going very well. And then once we get the new blowers in, we'll be running 2 blowers at all times, and all 4 CO2 removal units to optimize corrosion control, which is important for water quality, and optimizing water quality. In old systems like yours is not uncommon. There's many old systems that have a lot of cast iron piping that you're just more predisposed to having corrosion issues in an older system, and you certainly can't afford to replace all the pipes. So we just need to make sure all the equipment that's there is optimized, so that's what we've been doing. And so basically that's in good shape. We've got new air filters coming in, so it's all simple stuff that we were able to do. The only problem is I can't say it's simple and low cost. The water budget's been impacted by some of these repairs, as you probably all know, but there really isn't any choice. We did have an issue with one of the finished water pumps. In all honesty, it was not easy to troubleshoot. It's probably very frustrating because they did try. They had several electricians come look at it in the past. It's just we have some people that we know that are just more, aggressive and used to dealing with this kind of process equipment. So basically what they found out was the pump itself was in good shape. It's very new. We actually worked with you on this project. I don't know how many years ago now. I can't keep it straight, but it's not. The pumps weren't old, so I was very surprised when I saw that it wasn't working. But it ended up being the variable frequency drive that it's connected to, so it was an electronic issue. We got a loaner drive from Stolz Electric and put it in and took the other drive back to them. And basically they can't fix it, but they said that Pittsfield can borrow the drive until the time comes that we are ready to be able to buy a new drive. I'm going to be researching how long that is, but that was very generous of them and at no cost. It's not being rented or anything. It was a spare drive they had sitting around, and I don't know why they're being so nice, but I'm not going to argue with them. So we had Mike Beaver, who's a very good electronics and electrician guy, wire up the temporary drives so that you do have both pumps fully operational now. And then some water supply issues at the water treatment house. We had to order some equipment that hasn't been installed yet, but there's no water to feed the analyzers there. So that's gotten fixed. It's getting fixed. Everything's on order. And it's just some minor noise with the well pumps. And then about, maybe 6 months ago, I came on site and helped try to diagnose what was wrong with the biggest, the 7.5 horsepower pump that wasn't putting out what it should. And I know there's some concerns on maybe the well was losing capacity, but through troubleshooting, we determined that it was actually the pump. And it just took forever to get Frank Haggerty here to do the work. He does fine work, so we really wanted him to be the one to do it. He finally came on site, and Dan assisted with that, and you're able to gain about 130 gallons a minute from that repair. So that's all fixed and running well. And then a big thing that we worked on with Chris, and he did a great job getting this done, is coming up with a different way of doing the flushing. Basically, I call it unidirectional flushing, where you flush away from the facility. You don't just do, every other hydrant or whatever. You do every single hydrant in the system, and you just get it done. I mean, it's very hard, especially right now with one guy. But he did get it done, and I think it's made a big difference to get the system flushed out, because in my opinion, that's part of the reason why there's been some complaints, is there just is a little bit of extra sediment in the system. And when that gets flushed out, it's going to take a couple of years to get it perfect. I would never say it'll be perfect because it's an older system, but it'll certainly make a big difference. So that's been done for the fall. I was trying to tell Catherine that we'll do it twice this year, but we'll do it in the spring and the fall, but somehow the spring's gone by and it's already fall, so we're going to have to wait until next spring and do it in the spring, and then do it twice a year, every year, and it's really going to make a big difference, just from my preliminary assessment of what the issues are. And then just to give you some background on the next slide on water quality, because I think it's important that you understand manganese and iron and what they mean, and basically how we can optimize them here in Pittsfield. So basically, manganese and iron are very common compounds in a lot of main groundwater wells. And I run several facilities that deal with iron and manganese at levels much higher than this, by the way. This is kind of at a level where most water engineers would say, let's try not to have to put filtration in to deal with it. It's low enough that there are things you can do, like you're doing already, that you already have the equipment to do. It just needs to be optimized a little bit. So manganese, they're just secondary standards. They're not regulated as in the government won't come in and say you have to remove it to that level. But a system tries to optimize things to be able to stay below the level. So manganese's secondary standard is 0.05. At that level, people will notice it in their drinking water. It's a noticeable compound because it tends to flake, and you'll see black specks and flakes. It's very common in an older system, and it does come in with your wells. So it is a naturally occurring element that comes into the drinking water. And iron is less of a issue here, but I know there's been some people who've seen the iron on their filters. That's also really not so much coming in from your drinking water. You have a little bit in your drinking water, but my theory with the iron here is it's more in the cast iron piping and the galvanized service entrances, and maybe some of your galvanized lines that are still remaining. That has a higher level of a standard of 0.3, and at a level of 0.1, people generally notice it. You can taste it. It is not something that is going to be regulated by EPA anytime soon. They've got bigger fish to fry, but there are aesthetic concerns, which means people don't like it in their household. It causes some issues with laundry, so people will complain about it. It's something they can save. Basically, on the next slide, what kind of happens with these two compounds is when you pump water out of the ground, it's generally very clear until it comes out in the air. And air and chlorine will, when that's added to the water, it makes those elements in an insoluble form, so you can start to see them. It starts to precipitate out into plumbing, into the distribution system, and piping water heaters, and you'll see blacker, kind of a reddish brown water. So basically, if that system accumulates those particles in the distribution mains, they'll be stirred up. If you have high flow, I mean, you have a lot of big commercial users here in town. So if they stir up the flow, you're going to get some of that moved down to somebody else. And I've seen that with the data, that it's really not so much that it's worse in different areas than others. It shouldn't be, but it is, because if it builds up in the system, it'll get stirred up and move and be bad in one place and then be bad in another the next time. And we've seen that a little bit with the data that we've collected thus far. So that's why it's so important to flush regularly and get that accumulation out of the system. So I think it makes it hard to troubleshoot. On the next slide, I just wanted to share with some of the data. We're going to do another round. This data was collected before flushing. We wanted to have a baseline of what the iron and manganese look like. The highlighted in yellow were above those secondary standards. Now mind you, those are not regulated. And you can see that some manganese comes in with the smaller 5 horsepower well. That's one data point. That's the only data point we have. We've ordered chemicals to do the testing in-house, and when things calm down for the water operator here, he'll be doing a lot of this work internally. Right now we're sending it out to a regulated laboratory because I wanted to have certified results, and then have Chris do the like some match-up results with the lab next time. We can make sure our data is accurate. So we want to study that 5 horsepower well and see if it really is different than the larger 7.5 horsepower well. But in the summertime, you need both wells to keep up with the productivity here in town and get the water tank filled up. But we've done this twice, and both times the ones in the system that were higher than the standard were in different locations. And then like we did at Chris's house, and he had a high result one time and a lower result another time. So I think it's just moving in the system till we get it flushed out. And I'm fully confident that we will get it flushed out. It's just that it's going to be something that has to be worked out. So basically on the next slide, I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of understanding as to the technologies for the removal of iron manganese. I would never suggest that you do this, but there are systems that have iron manganese at levels quite high, and they have to oxidize it on purpose with an extreme amount of chlorine, and then they filter that out, and then they backwash it, and all of that. That is a very expensive long-term process. I mean, I'm thinking probably $3 or $4 million thing. You guys don't need to even think about that. I just wanted you to be aware that there are ways to remove it. But to avoid those costs, what we basically do typically for numbers as low as what you guys have is to use a sequestering agent. And that is basically an agent that keeps the chemicals in solution so they don't precipitate out and become nuisances to the public. So if they're in solution, I'm not saying that if you were to go measure that, it wouldn't be there, but it's way less noticeable to the public that the iron and the manganese are when they're in solution, or they're adhered to the piping and not in your household water. They're a lot less apt to reach out into people's household plumbing. So the next slide basically is kind of just a focal point for controlling water in Pittsfield. So our suggested plan is to continually sequester, which means adding it's an aquidine phosphate and orthophosphate chemical that you already have. Continue that, running that continually, not to be sporadic about it, but always operate with it. We've evaluated the particular chemical that you're using. We feel that it's very appropriate and exactly what you should use, so that's good. The only thing that we noted is you might be able to cut back on it, which would be nice because you don't need to overdose it. It's not being overdosed as in like an overdose, but you're just slightly above maybe the optimum level. But I didn't want to change a whole bunch of things while we're changing other things. So we need to do one thing at a time and make changes and really understand what it is we're doing. And then for corrosion control, the air stripping system is exactly something that you should be operating at your system. All 4 units need to be operated continuously with a minimum of 2 blowers in the future. And that is for lead and copper control because you have an old system. Lead is one of those things you do not want to have problems with, so the corrosion control is a requirement for taking care of that. And then water system flushing. I know that it's not fun when the water department's out there flushing and dirtying up the water, but it's highly, highly important that Pittsfield do it twice a year. Spring and the fall. So it would be great if that was something that that got done. And then we came up with what we call a unidirectional flushing plan, which basically takes the water away from the treatment system out to the dead ends and away from your water tanks and out the other dead ends. So basically trying to pull it away from sources so you can flush it out of the system. So that's something that just got completed, and I look forward to doing the next round of sampling. I have no guarantees. It may take some time to get better results throughout. So the next slide just kind of shows what the air stripper looks like. You have 4 multi-stage bubble air stripping systems that were put in quite a few years ago by Lowry Engineering. We work with them quite often. They may need some work in the future with some of the piping and the membranes down in the bottom of it. But for now, they're all running fine, and I say that we wait to another budget year to work on that optimization. But your lead and copper numbers are good, so I don't expect that that's an issue. But that's kind of what they look like. So basically, it strips out the CO2 and helps increase the pH. So it helps the water be less corrosive. And then on the next slide, just a recommendation where possible, when demand allows for now, based on our initial data, try to run the 7.5 horsepower well more often than the 5 horsepower well. But for now, I can't tell you for sure if that is a real data point, because we only have that one data point on the fact that one well had less manganese than the other. And then we'd like to see regular in-house testing at the plant and out in the distribution system for manganese. I think it's a really good thing to do that in-house as much as you can to save the expense of working with the lab. I mean, I think the lab is a good couple times a year to use the lab, but then doing some work in-house when staffing improves. It would be a really hard thing for one person to be focusing on right now. And then basically once we've seen where all of this is going, we'll probably start tweaking back on the sequestering chemical that's being added. It is, I feel like we might be able to reduce it. There's no sense in overdosing it because there's only so much residual that you need. It actually goes out and coats the pipes and puts kind of a liner in your water pipes. And you don't want to have that liner be too thick. So we need to just work on that a little bit longer. And I also didn't want to touch that until we flushed and retested, because it really doesn't get properly added unless you flush and pull it out into the system and all the dead ends. And like I said, we've ordered sample containers to do another round of water quality testing. And the other item I have on the cover of the presentation was budget considerations, and we're really just kind of hitting the ground on that to work with the town on, sorry, I had a cold, so I lose my voice when I talk too much, but work with Catherine on a proposed budget for what we would recommend for a system about this size. I mean, I run about 18 utilities now, maybe 19, I lose track. And I would probably have some suggestions on better staffing for the water system, and also a different budget line items. So Catherine and I will be working on that, and I should have something to her later this week on the budget considerations. So, but I'm also here to answer any questions. I haven't been here for a while. If you have any questions for me.
A couple. What's the optimal pH for water?
Well, that's a really good question, and it varies.
Yeah.
So I would want you to take this, but for this particular system, I'd like to see it above 7.
Okay.
You know, you're on the, you're kind of right around that, and that's just really just for control of lead.
Is that as it comes from the well, or
No,
after?
as it comes from the well, it's usually lower than that,
Okay.
and after the CO2 process, and basically that improves the pH and raises it a little bit.
Okay.
So yeah, so you're pretty much right around where it would be.
Okay.
It would be very expensive to. There are other things you can do if we find that it needs to be done, but you don't really have a lead and copper problem, at least based on my understanding. I mean, I'll get a better understanding on that once we do the testing, because that's something you don't have to do that often.
Okay.
But I think that's pretty general. I mean, if it's a new system, you can run a little lower. If all your piping is brand new and you've got lined ductile iron pipe or HDPE, but unfortunately you have miles and miles of cast iron pipe that
Right.
with probably goosenecks and that type of thing that you.
Okay.
Yeah.
The overall health of the system is pretty good from the point of view of the wells, you know. as
Yeah,
far as-
I mean, I think, I don't want to, I'm not a hydrogeologist.
Yeah.
You have one well that's obviously better than the other. There's been problems in the past of them plugging up. Then they need to be like worked on by Frank Haggerty. Comes down and he's
Yeah.
kind of flushed out the screen. So that's invariably the issue with wells like this. So I can't tell you that in the future you're not looking at another drilled well.
Yeah.
I'd like to really understand the difference between the two of them.
Yeah, how close together are they, do you know?
Very close.
Very close.
Yep, they're very
And-
close,
and
the
one
data
is
doesn't
that-
make sense to me.
And one is that much different than the other?
It doesn't make sense to me, but it is the data, and I didn't wanna, I mean,
Yeah.
I have no reason to throw out the data point, so I just, it's a talking point and something to understand for the future.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, thank you.
yeah, no problem.
Any other councilors have questions for Annalise?
So in the discussion of a more enhanced budget also would come a rate increase review too. Because our rates are the same as they were in 2009 and hadn't been increased since the 1970s previously. And it's not something we would want to do, but if we're gonna add a lot of money into the budget, we would have to look at a rate increase to sustain it.
Yeah, cause right now you're basically just making it, and things have been, this year's been a year of some new things and stuff that was unexpected and some expenses that weren't planned for, so, you know,
Yeah, we generally get by, but.
There is a lot of things.
Conservative budget.
Yeah, that I think need to be done, so, and you need a bigger budget to do them, but it's up to you, I'm just helping in an interim fashion at this point, and maybe, you know, you may not do it this way for that long, so I'm just giving you my suggestions while I'm involved.
Okay, councilors, any other questions for Annalise?
Yeah.
Bob?
The lagoons are in good shape?
I believe your wastewater facility's in fairly good shape. I haven't been over there for quite some time. We haven't really been involved on the wastewater side. I mean, you've done a lot of work in your sewer system in recent years, and I think that the flows have been reduced because of that work. And then the lagoons have been cleaned out fairly recently.
And they didn't need as much cleaning as we thought they were gonna need.
No, they didn't need it, and that saved you a lot of money, and you're able to do a
Right.
bunch of sewer work
Yeah.
with that money, so that was kind of a great thing. You got through a lot of your sewer work that you wanted to do at that time.
That was amazing. At that time, the USDA indicated
Yeah.
that we had gotten the most work done for the dollars that they provided
Right.
to us in the millions, because it was thought that that amount from 2 engineering reviews that were done, not by Oliver Associates, but by others, that we would need a certain amount of money to clean up the system because it was very filled, but it turns out it really wasn't at all. So we were able to utilize the money to rebuild the lines and revitalize all the different lines, so that was wonderful. At a time when the economy had the contractors bidding very low to get jobs.
Yeah, it's a little different now.
Yes, it is different now.
It's not a fun bidding climate,
Yeah.
speaking from an engineering firm.
So Annalise has been very helpful going over with the staff and myself on different enhancements that can take place. And I think that we have been flushing for years, but I think going back decades, we actually hadn't been doing it right. So now we've got a good flushing plan.
Okay. Any other questions, councilors, for Annalise? Thank you for coming in and sharing that with us, and it's very informative, and looking forward to working with you in the future.
Okay,
Thank
my
you.
pleasure. Have a good evening.
You too, thank you.
Yep.
All right, very good. We're going down on the agenda now to community and economic development activities and events. And I'll quickly report on the Kennebec Valley Council of Governments 52nd annual meeting that took place last evening. And I was the attendee because other people weren't able to attend either because of illness or other commitments. So it was very informative and lasted just the amount of time it was supposed to. KB cog functions usually will run over sometimes 2 hours. So this one finished on time, which was great. Presentations took place from Commissioner Heather Johnson from the Department of Economic Community Development, and you may remember her name because she used to be in charge of the Somerset Economic Development Corporation for a couple of years. And they also had Charlie Springer from TRC, which is an engineering firm that talked about all the various brownfield assessment and cleanup projects that are going on in the KB cog service area. And we haven't signed up for any of those this time. We had signed up in the past and got a wonderful project through KB cog, and then a EPA grant to clean up an old deserted printing shop that had collapsed in. We were very fortunate to get that taken care of with no town funds except for staff time, public works time, etc. And so we haven't signed up this time because the places that we would be interested in having looked at for an assessment to see if there's pollution there are not sites that the people are interested in. They're not town sites, they're private sites, and the private sector does not have to sign up for a program if they do not want their property looked at. I will say we did luck out quite a bit in downtown at the gas station, at the old Gulf station. DEP, for years we had called up DEP for pollution monies, which would not be under this brownfields project, and got our name in, and Ron Porter kept calling up, and the DEP came down and took out the tanks, found there was no pollution, took care of everything, and he didn't have to pay a penny. So it was a miracle, so everybody can feel good about that location, because there was no issues there. But to get back to the brownfields grants, there could be a location in the future we would sign up for the assessment monies, which are free to the town. The cleanup through KV-COG is all paid for by the companies, and it's through loans now. There's no grants. But if the town did have a site in the future, and we don't have any we know of, we can get a grant, depending on, you know, if we apply in time and everything. So right now there are no sites for the town, and in terms of public, and the private sector is not interested in this today. So going on to events, we have our Somerset County Spirit of America Award Ceremony, and that will be taking place on Wednesday, October 16th. Notice just came, it'll be at 6 p.m. in the Superior Courtroom. So the town of Pittsfield is getting a 2019 Spirit of America Award, and Tom Brown, our recipient of the Pittsfield Spirit of America Award, will get his award. And he will only go if we go, so we need to get some people together to go, so we can take him over and be there with him, because he's very shy and such a nice man, so we want him to be able to go up front and get his award and take pictures and everything. So if anybody would like to go, let us know, and we'll get that all arranged. Then there'll be refreshments afterwards. Peak will be meeting next Tuesday, October 8th, and that will be in the afternoon, to discuss a full agenda of items, including some minor building improvements to a facility that's owned by this 501c3 organization called PEAC, Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation. They'll be talking on how to assist in marketing a building that a trust owns here in town that now appears interested in selling, some business plans that businesses are working on, and projects that they would propose, a town video update, and publishing a promotional map for the downtown. And so we had talked in the past about the nice map from Unity that we had seen, that is the best business downtown map that I've seen. And it was recently indicated that, you know, we should be passing out promotional brochures at big events, and we did pass out promotional events at big events in the past. But what we found people really wanted was directions to sites to go there now. So this promotional map could be ideal to pass out at our next big event, and really, you know, get people interested in the town. Because if somebody's driving all the way here for a major event, whether they're going to the Egg Festival, a Cheese Festival, or something else, the questions they're asking when we had Bike Maine, and also at the Egg Festival, is where is this, where is that, where are your hiking trails, where can you go put a kayak in. So these type of things should be on the map, and then we could pass that out instead of something that talks about, you know, all these different nice places but doesn't have directions. So we need a directional map that will help, and that will snag a few people and let them fill in their day when they come up for a big event. So that's something that Peak will work on. I'd mentioned the Small Business Saturday. That will be held on Saturday, November 30th, and that's another project for the town to work on, and one that we think the Heart of Pittsfield might be engaged in or interested in. So we'll check with them, see if we can work together to coordinate that if there's interest. I think there would be. And we continue to get calls about different types of properties, and so we give all that information and everything. And I won't go through the list of the new businesses because it's been the same as the last couple of meetings. So I will conclude at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next is public hearings, old business.
Ordinance 19-12, that the town council hereby ordains that Chapter 2B General Assistance Ordinance, Appendices A through D and Appendix H be rescinded, and the new appendices A through D and Appendix H be adopted to reflect the revised maximums for the period of October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2020, and to continue to use appendices E through F set forth and filed with the Department of Health and Human Services, DHHS, until any new appendices are approved.
Right, this is a public hearing, so is there anyone in the audience this evening that wishes to speak in favor of ordinance 19-12? Anyone? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in opposition of ordinance 19-12? No? Okay, not hearing, I'll turn over to the council. I'll look for a motion.
Move to adopt ordinance 19-12.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the council?
I'll just briefly note what's taken place with the ordinance, because there are a few changes in the maximums that can be paid. And so generally there haven't been any changes for the last 3 years, especially the last 2 years, and before that there's a minor change. So for 2019, 2020, starting today, the overall maximums have increased from $20 up to $97 a month based upon a family size of 1 to 5 and more. So basically, depending on the size of the family, the maximum that the town would pay based upon their need has increased $20 to $97. The food maximums have increased $2 to $9 a month, so that's not much of a change at all. And considering how much food costs, you have to wonder about that. Residential housing, though, has increased drastically. That has gone up to, for a family of 5, gone up to $100 increase. And then for a family of 1, $31. And everything else has ended up remaining the same, which is all the utilities, all personal care household items, and all supplements for the children. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Any other questions or comments, councilors, concerning this ordinance? No? Okay, not hearing any. I sent you ready to vote. All those in favor of ordinance 19-12, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and the ordinance passes. Next are reports. Council committee. Howard, did you have anything that you wanted to put out there?
Well, yeah, the Bicentennial Committee is still co-sponsoring some events. We've actually fronted some funds for movie the week of Halloween, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Totally appropriate.
It'll go down in.
The hairstyles will be different.
Yeah, just a tag. Trunk or treat's coming up. We still have the tree lighting in December, which will kind of finish the year, because we elected to do this on a yearly basis. And we still have the time capsule closure and sealing. That'll probably be done in January, actually after the year is over, because we're looking to include all of the babies that were born, in 2019. To include something, for them, hopefully 25 or 50 years from now, when the capsule will be opened again. There are some ideas that the committee's tossing around to basically continue the excitement that we've had this year with respect to the bicentennial. So this can become kind of a birthday event, so to speak, in June. I know that Jen and I have been talking a little bit about that. If you want to elaborate on that at all, at this time, or leave it for, future plans?
I think what we'll be doing is having a little bit more discussion and coming to the council with a couple of suggestions. I want to go back to the Rocky Horror thing. Jamie's looking for somebody to do a little extra work when that movie's in town. So, Mike, if you're free and you've got a couple of hours to run around the theater that night, and excitement to get to know the folks in town. But aside from that, contrary to the rumor that's going around, the bicentennial is not over yet. We do have a couple of interesting ideas for the next couple of years, especially around June the 19th of each year. So you'll be hearing more about that probably a little bit later on. The one thing, and I'm not sure, I kind of dozed off to your report, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
On October the 20th, which is a Sunday, the Historical Society is going to be doing a Taste of Pittsfield event at the depot, and you'll be hearing more about that in the next few days, hopefully. But there'll be some booths set up, and we encourage people to get out. Hopefully there won't be any snow by then, but to involve some of the businesses and some of the food vendors and some other places, people in town, to again, the idea being to get some exposure and some people down to the depot. But that will be October the 20th on Sunday. And Jenny, I don't know if you want to add anything or not. I won't put you on the spot.
This is Ron's event.
It's Ron's event.
He's
That's
working
good.
very hard on it.
He is working very hard. Like I said, you'll probably see something a little bit more about it, maybe in the paper for the end of the week or two also. But it's been an interesting year, and as Catherine pointed out a few minutes ago, a lot of people have come to town, and where's this, where's that, where can I go? And so the idea of maps and other things that are at key locations that people can pick up. One of the big ones that I think is something that can really build on is the hiking and the kayaking and the canoeing. Because people come into town, they go over the river and they say, oh, I didn't know that was here. Is there a place where I can launch a boat or get on a bicycle and ride through the woods? So if we can begin to get some things out there like that in the public, that will help that. So.
That's it.
That's it. Heather, did you have anything that you wanted to report on? No? Okay. What I'm going to do, if it's okay with you, Ann, is I'll hold off, and when you do your report, we'll go, if there's questions or you want to put anything out there, we'll roll it all into one, if that's okay? Sure. Okay. And Finance Committee is next.
Yeah, we had a finance committee meeting last Thursday, rather lengthy one. We met with the theater, Jamie from the theater. We met with Pete from the department and Steve from Public Works. Went over the initial budget, everything except pay and benefits. But we went over everything else, and we'll make some suggestions, and that the council will be seeing shortly.
Okay. Right, thank you, Bob. Ordinance Committee, any report on Ordinance Committee? I don't think so, but no. And Recycling Committee has no report. I will say that Jane sent me an email, and with the report, we got multiple people that cannot go to the meeting tomorrow night, so we're gonna have to reschedule it. However, we had talked at the previous meeting about a class on composting, and she has contacted Tom Roberts, and he would be very interested in doing that this next year as part of SAD 53 Adult Ed. That's what we did last time. We want to make sure that it gets on camera because he does a fantastic class, and people are very interested in that. So I think that would be a great thing. Yes.
Maybe he'd like to do it at the theater.
And he may very well. And we would definitely make that a suggestion, because I'm telling you, when I remember that, I think they had Howard, probably 30, 40, 45 people in every class. So I think that would be good. So anyway, that's something we're going to discuss down the road, but other than that, I have no report.
We've always done well with all of the composting and the different educational seminars and trainings and just get-togethers that we had in the recycling, reuse, composting area. But I will say, if it's at the theater, prepare for a long night, because every time we had them, people would not leave.
Yeah, because he is very, very informative. He's very good at what he does. Okay, so next is How about if we do town manager report and then I'll open it up to the theater committee presentation?
We can do the theater.
You wanna do it first?
They're all
Okay.
set, they
All right.
see their name.
I just didn't want to drag it out any more than I had to. Okay, so next is presentation by the theater committee, and Ann and the theater committee, and Jamie, the floor is yours.
Their screen turns on here. Thinking. There it goes. All right, good evening, counselors, everybody. I am Jennifer Watson, and I'm the secretary of the theater committee. And the committee is here tonight because we were asked to present a comprehensive report on what we've accomplished this year and our plans for moving forward. There we go. All right, we'd like to start by giving an overview of where we started at the beginning of the year and some of the challenges that we have faced. And so everybody knows that the budget was reduced by $45,000, and the committee needed to find ways to restructure the operations of the theater and in order to keep it open for the full year. And so we've listed out a couple of challenges that we faced, one being kind of an inefficient operations. We thought having one full-time manager with only the support staff in the box office and concessions wasn't the most efficient model, and that meant all of the work was on one person. There were no policies written down anywhere, so we had to find time to write down some policies. The theater has been a cash-only operation, and this has in cases turned people away because they didn't realize they couldn't use their credit cards. But we do have a machine, and as of our last meeting, it's not fully operational yet, but Jamie has been in contact with the state representation for that system, and they are in the works of making that available. And good news, we will also be able to use online donations through the system, so that's a good thing. There were some unpaid bills, so as we know, that heating incident with the bill earlier this year, but there were also a couple of movies that hadn't been paid, and this almost caused the theater from not receiving the next movie that was scheduled, but Jamie got that handled for us. New employees, recruiting, it takes time. We had to advertise, we had to interview, and then hire the new manager, and then the assistant manager, we just had an interview last Friday, I believe it was, for the assistant manager role. And unfortunately, people are still unaware, despite all of our efforts, that the theater is still open. Jamie gets calls a couple times a week asking if the theater is still open. People are asking, is it going to be open next year? So that kind of hinders all of our efforts. And the building itself presents a big challenge. You know, the roof needs to be fixed. The marquee lights don't work. The list just goes kind of on and on for the building itself. So what have we been doing? The committee, with the help of Rochelle Barney and Mike Lynch, looked into the budget to see where cuts could be made and how we could make operations more functional to get us through this year. And then the committee has assisted Jamie in creating a new budget for next year. This is the budget that she presented at your finance committee last Thursday. And the new proposed budget is for $96,320 with an expected revenue of $62,275. So that leaves a difference or a gap that the town would fund at $34,045. And this is much less than the original 2019 difference, which was up to $87,702, and it's still even less than the revised 2019 difference of $42,702. So we've been able to bring that gap down and increase the revenue. And so how did we do this? How did we get the budget done? How did we get that gap down? As I mentioned earlier, we had proposed that reorganization of operations for the theater. Instead of the one full-time manager, we now have the part-time manager and part-time assistant manager. And doing these changes, we've saved just a little over $22,000. Concessions. Jamie has made some changes in our concessions, and these changes have brought in a savings of just over $2,000. With the contracts, we recommended that the theater manager now be in charge of ordering the movies instead of a booking company, and in doing so, we're saving about $5,000 a year by having her do that. We've also made some changes to try and increase our revenue. So we've increased the ticket prices by $1 in each category. We've closed the theater on Tuesdays and Wednesday nights, so that's going to help us save in the payroll, the heat, the electricity costs.
And then the major change that we've started is creating a program for live events. These events are not only going to bring in more revenue, which is what we want, but we're also going to be offering the community a wider variety of entertainment and things to do here in town. We've also started and created this Movie of the Week campaign for the theater manager. This is an opportunity for businesses to support their local theater, and in return we advertise them on screen before the movie each night. We advertise their logo in our window right on Main Street, and we have them on our website, on our various social media pages, as well as the Rolling Thunder. And Jamie has been doing a really great job with this. We've received 4 so far. She started this at the end of August, so she's doing a good job with this. And this effort is going to allow all of the profit that we get from those ticket prices and concessions to go directly to the theater, because our overhead cost of that movie for the week has already been taken care of. Fundraising efforts. The committee has had various fundraisers this year, and we are working towards a goal of raising another $10,000 to $15,000. That's what was recommended to us, to get us through the end of the year without needing to deplete our fundraising account. We have the money in this fundraising account, and we're told that it will get us through and carry us through to the end of the year if we need to, but we would like to try to avoid that, so we're in the process of starting another fundraiser right now, as well as the Movie of the Week campaign. And then, as we all know, the theater needs updating. So we kind of started with a deep clean of the theater. 4 volunteers came in, a couple days, gave about 15 hours each, and really got in there and got a lot of that set and dirt out for us. So it looks much cleaner in there now. Jamie has come in and painted the concession stand and updated the window trimmings and has given that a whole fresh new look. We now have an open sign that's all lit up in the front window, so people will hopefully catch their eyes so that we know we're there. The committee has used the fundraising money from our spaghetti dinner to purchase a sound system, and we did that so we could accommodate more live events. We want people to come, and if we didn't have the sound system and equipment, then they couldn't be there. So now we have it, and we're able to accommodate these new events, bring in more of that revenue. And as we mentioned before, there were no policies written down, so we had to spend time writing the policies, not only for the theater, but for volunteers coming in, employees. We needed those things written down. And so Patty has been leading our way through this. She's done a really great job bringing those policies in for us. And now we have hard copies as well as digital copies for the theater. And ongoing efforts. We aren't done yet. We have more going on this year. Upcoming next is Ukulele Russ and the Ukulele Orchestra of Greater Brewer. They're going to be here on Sunday, the 13th. And then the library is presenting the Maine Poetry Express on the 16th. As mentioned earlier, the Bicentennial Committee is sponsoring the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And the Kiwanis would like to sponsor this year's free Christmas movie for the kids. And we're also starting to work with increased collaboration with the school. We're hoping that MCI Jazz Band will come and do a Christmas show. And we've already begun looking into booking shows for next year. You know, we want to see this as an effort to create a sustainable program of live events. We don't want this to be seen as just fundraising. We want to assist the manager in creating a consistent yearly program of live events, so that and also to establish these working relationships with the school and the community for other events. So it's not just a fundraiser, but something that is sustainable. So looking to 2020 and beyond, this committee will serve to continue advising the manager with the operations of the theater, helping to implement changes and development of these new programs. And we would welcome the idea of transitioning operations over to a separate nonprofit entity that's been thrown out there. And then once the committee knows that the theater is going to remain open next year, we're going to immediately start efforts into looking for a roofing solution. That's kind of our priority number 1. The roof has to be looked at and fixed. And then our second priority will probably be the marquee. It doesn't light up, so we need people to know that we're there. We need lights on that marquee. And so our motivation. As a committee, we wanted to end the presentation with a reminder of why we are working so hard. Sometimes we can get caught up in what we're doing and forget why we're doing it. So we asked our community, what does the theater mean to them? And I've got just a couple of the responses that we received I want to read to you. The first one, the theater means that I can affordably bring my kids to the movies, and they can all get popcorn, drinks, and candy so I don't go broke. I think it's pretty unique to have a theater like we do, and it's part of what makes Pittsfield great. It would be a shame for our town to lose part of itself. Second one, the Pittsfield Community Theater means an active and attractive Main Street for our community. Without an operating entity in the theater, our Main Street would look much less full than it does today. The theater anchors the downtown and provides an activity for townspeople. It is also a slice of our history that once gone could never be replaced. Third, we have a place for children in this community to get out and enjoy a movie, a local venue for music and plays, a Pittsfield asset to economic development that is rare in other towns. And finally, it means community. Middle school dates with my now husband, learning independence and responsibility by going to the movie for the first time with my best friend, no parents. We saw A League of Their Own. Pageants, plays, concerts, comedy, meetings, part-time jobs for local teens, and the list goes on. The theater is and has always been the heart of our community, literally and figuratively. To even so much as picture our town without it is heartbreaking, and it would be a loss of something really special that sets Pittsfield apart. All right, I've got one more slide here, one final slide, and now I'm going to switch roles on you. I'm no longer representing the theater committee of town. I'm going to be representing an effort by myself and Ann Matthews to start a nonprofit for the theater. So this year we've spent networking with other theaters in small towns to see how they operate, researching what it means to be a 501c3 because that's not our background, either one of us. So we're learning a lot. Speaking with business professionals, and they have helped to guide our efforts. Our vision is for the theater to grow into what we are calling the Bijou Theater and Enrichment Center. Our vision is to create a space for people of all ages to engage in various forms of art and culture. In doing so, the Bijou will provide the members of our rural community experiences to broaden their worlds. Our mission is to enrich the lives of those in our community through entertainment, education, art, and cultural experiences. Almost done. So we've had our first meeting with members of the community and are in the very early stages of trying to put together a board. We've talked about the idea of partnering with an established 501c3 to be a potential fiscal sponsor, but our ultimate goal is to become a standalone nonprofit that can assume the ownership of the building and run the operations. We don't have a concrete timeline right now of how long that will take. From what we've been told from various people, it can take up to 2 years. So one of our biggest challenges in this effort is not having really that concrete confirmation that the town will move forward with a plan to transition away from town ownership. You know, it's hard for us, and it's hard for us to get members of the community to commit all of this time, all of this effort into starting something if we don't know if it's going to amount to anything. But this is something that we really believe in. We think it would be a really great opportunity for our community to grow. And that's all I have.
Yeah, did you want to add to that?
Great job, Jen. Very, very good. I think Jennifer said it all. If anybody has any questions, we're here to try to answer them. We did meet. We do have a potential 501c3 that's interested in partnering with us, and if that doesn't work out, we have a couple more that we would like to, talk with.
Can you, Jennifer, can you give us those figures again of what you said the offset cost would be? Go through that one more time for everybody to make sure that they've got that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem. So the proposed budget for 2020 is $96,320, and our expected revenue is $62,275, and so that gap would be $34,045. Last year, initially, the gap was at $87,702, so we brought it from 87 down to 34.
Mm-hmm. Anybody have questions for the theater committee on their presentation, counselors? It's I know the 501c3 is a lengthy process, and my advice would be to get as much information as you can from the other ones that have done it. First one that pops into my head, of course, they're in a different situation we have, but that's the Railroad Square Cinema in Waterville. I mean, they're very successful. It took them years to get there, but they're there. And of course, they have Colby College and they have all the other tie-ins down in that area. But they may be able to give you some ideas, pointers. Can't hurt. Information's a good thing. And that's impressive that you've done that much work. And it's obviously they're doing everything you can. And at 3,000, at that much money coming down, I think that's a lot more palatable to people. And if you present that in front of me at budget time, I'm going to vote to run it one more year. But that's just me. I'm going to go on record and tell you that if you can do that, I will vote to fund it for another year. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody will, but I will. That's just me. That's if we can, if the numbers add up and you come at budget time. That's if you present what you just did to me with that amount of money, I think another year, then you probably would be well on your way to a 501c3.
It does take time, and we appreciate that.
And I say that because that is a dramatic decrease from last year. That's all.
So the revenue is excellent. That's amazing, and I think that you'll make it. The budget, as you all know, is extremely tight for expenditures.
Thank you. Any other questions, councilors, for the theater committee in their presentation? Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is town manager report.
Yes, I'll let everybody clear out for us. All right, great, thank you. I'll be brief. I have a number of items. We've got all kinds of events taking place here. We have our residential household hazardous waste disposal event coming right up on Saturday, October 12th. That will be from 9 a.m. to noon. Pre-registration is required to participate, so anyone that's interested should call the recycling transfer station at 487-3361. This is an event put together with the Kennebec Valley Council of Governments and other communities in which the town will host a residential household hazardous waste disposal event. We've done this for years. We have brochures available here, and the items that people can take are items that you normally cannot put into the waste stream and should not. Those items include old oil and latex-based paint, gas, motor oil, pesticides, cleaners, pool chemicals, TVs, computers, and other difficult to get rid of items that could harm people and pets if they lay around at your home or in the garages or sheds and such things. So normally you can take TVs and computers anyway, but these other items can be very costly to get rid of and should not be in the waste stream going into the compactor hopper. So this is an annual event. We will not be holding the annual unwanted prescription drug collection because one, we have that wonderful disposal secure box here that we acquired through a grant with Healthy SV, so it's right upstairs. People bring in unwanted prescriptions every day, and tons of them. And we're able to dispose of that free of charge. So please take it away and take it down to Augusta. Healthy SV also has now known as as Northern Lights, several years ago started a collection day in October, so there's no reason for duplication. So we'll go right on to that day. Prescription drug take back day will be on Saturday, October 26th. That will be in the Pittsfield Municipal Parking Lot. Northern Lights, also known as Healthy SV, will be collecting e-waste items from 8 a.m. until noon, and those items will include cell phones, computer towers, printers, television, and monitors, and that will all be taken care of through them, so no charge to the town, so that's wonderful, and gives people another option. The Pittsfield Police Department will be collecting the unwanted or unused prescription drugs from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and that matches up with a national take-back day. Number 3, the Husky Howl. This is something new called Wheels and Coffee. This will take place on Saturday, October 26th. That's going to be a busy day. From 11 a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. It's a wheel show for the community to raise funds for JMG, that's Jobs for Maine's graduates at MCI, Annual Giving Tree Charity. And since this is a new item, I am going to go over it so we can get some promotion for it for everybody to know. It will raise monies for the annual Giving Tree charity at MCI that gives clothes and other gifts to those in need. And they're bringing some car culture to the community of Pittsfield. So this will be on MCI's front lawn, which is very open now. So we'll see all the vehicles that are there. They have other partners, including Dunkin' Donuts, Pop-On-Overs, food trucks. They're going to give away trophies, prizes, donations, raffle tickets, have food and drink sales, and live music. So this is when everybody will bring their vehicles up on Saturday, October 26th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. with registration starting at 10, in which they'll be holding workshops and having vendors there for the public to learn about how to buy, lease, insure, and own a car. So there are people in town that do need this help, including all the youngsters that will own vehicles. So that will be an educational item at MCI at 295 Main Street. The next event, a big one, is the Pittsfield Community Trunk or Treat event. This was our long-standing, highly anticipated fire department Halloween party that had the best doughboys around in the world, I said. That expanded last year to include additional partners and has expanded further now to have 3 locations. This is really big. On, of course, Thursday, October 31st, from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. with 3 site locations. That's the overall time, but there are some different times for one of the locations. The Pittsfield Public Library will have an All Hallows Read. There will be free books, candy, and a photo booth. So that could be interesting with all the costumes and everything. That will be at the Pittsfield Public Library, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. The Pittsfield First Baptist Church will be the location of the trunks and the candy. And then the Pittsfield Municipal Parking Lot will have a kiddie parade. And that will be a lineup at 7 p.m. It says at the Pittsfield Fire Department. There will be hot and cold apple cider. It says that Detroit Fire Department will have their famous sundaes, and Pittsfield Fire Department will have their famous doughboys. And our really nice, interesting poster here came from Jessica Olette at Healthy SV Northern Lights at 487-3890 for any questions. So that's on Halloween, and the event is getting bigger and bigger. Next item is the Waverly Street Bridge. Continues to be closed to through traffic as the state of Maine needed to work on the bridge and having a complete overhaul. So that's good because it was getting older. Number 6, the town council chambers will be closed to meetings from Wednesday, October 23rd and Thursday, October 24th, as the new tiling will be installed along with this small area up here for the podium that will be carpet. Number 7, question on digital warrants. MMA has advised the town that we would not be able to have councilors sign warrants digitally, and the answer they gave was a little bit different than what I thought it would be. I did think that we couldn't do it, but they've indicated it's because the legislature has continually turned down bills that would allow councilors and selectmen to vote by phone, dial-in, teleconference, or computer. When they're from a remote location. So basically, because the digital signature will be coming from a remote location, and the legislature has turned down those bills before that people could vote at meetings remotely and have their vote count. So it was a great idea, but not one we can use yet. But you never know, the bills continue to come up, so it'll probably come up again next year. Number 8. Our 2020 proposed state valuation has arrived, and this is always an important document because it affects what our educational funding will be, as well as our state revenue sharing. It affects our county tax, our school assessment. So our 2019 valuation was $249,750, and that has increased up to $252,050,000. So we've gone from 249 million up to 252 million, an increase of 2.3 million or 0.9%. So our agent, Mr. Sally, who lives here in town, did call me up about this, and he's very knowledgeable about the state valuations, because he works on them, and also about TIFs. And so he said that there's pros and cons to this. It's always good to have an increase, so you want to go up, you never want to go down. Places that go down are like Millinocket and those that, Lincoln, that lose, huge properties, so you never want that to happen. But you also don't want to go up too much. So this was a healthy increase, but not as large as it could be, but it is an increase, which is good. So we are fortunate. And so Mr. Sally, on our next tax increment financing district that comes up, is volunteered to assist, so that would be fine. If we had something that came in that was 10 or 20 million, you would obviously have to capture that value and do some sort of tax increment financing district, because it would be such a massive increase that, our school taxes would skyrocket, because the educational aid would go way down, our state revenue sharing would go way down. But if something comes in, that's smaller than that, then obviously we might want to capture some of that, but maybe not all of it like we have been. It is a good tool for economic development to entice businesses, so there's a fine line. So Mr. Sally's an expert in that area, and so as soon as we get our next inquiry for a tax increment financing district, we'll call him, have him meet with the Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation and town councilors, and we'll go over that. So that would be nice to have that help. I've done both the regular TIFs and then the really large TIFs, but I've never done one that you did some things, that you did a variety of things. So that help would be good to figure out where the fine line is. 9 is our tax increment financing district. And so on our tax acquired property sale, which is part of our TAP, we do have 6, which are actually 7 properties. One is being combined. We have 6 properties that are going out to bid. We did receive an inquiry at the last meeting in which we wanted to help out the individual who had gone past their redemption period. And we did get a legal opinion and found that there was no way we could do that since we had gone through so many steps of the process. But the council did want, and the staff did want to help the individual. I know that there's been so many different notices and steps, and then an informal redemption period, then all the phone calls, and then the formal redemption period. But you do want people to retain their property. But since the process had gone along and the date had been missed, the town attorney indicated that the prior property owner would have to bid on it just as everybody else would, and then based upon the descriptions in the bid, the council would make a decision. So we'll see how things go here. But we do have several properties. We've got a building and land that has about 38 acres. We have a building and land which is 2.3 acres. Building and land which is 2/10 of an acre. A building and land which is 4/10 of an acre. Land only approximately 9.6 acres. Land only 4.8 acres. And of course you can get these properties as a bargain, but we do have to make the statement that people need to be aware that there's always issues. If the town gets the property, no one gives the property back to the town unless there's something wrong with the property. And so you have to balance the fact you get it for a good buy, and you buy some extra insurance, or you deal with the issues that are there, and it works out good for you. And many tax acquired properties have been purchased by people and worked out really good. But you need to be buyer beware, just like you would on any property. And so that date is coming up for the forms to be turned in to the town. And that date is October 10th, 2019 at 11 a.m. And all the bids will be publicly open because that's all public information. And then the information will come in as soon as possible to the next council meeting, because we'd like to deal with these properties before winter. And we have a complete ad which is on the town website, as well as the complete package, and I put some packages out this evening. All the other properties either were land or did not have anybody living there. So this is the first time we ever had somebody try to acquire the property after the redemption period. So hopefully that will not happen again. Everything will work out. So we got some great news at the new office project at the transfer station. Our coordinator, Don Shute, stopped by the vendor that he chose, which is Hillview Mini Barns, and the unit is being built just as we speak. The anticipated completion date is at the end of the month, and the price was much lower than the other vendors contacted and lower than what we thought it was gonna be. So that is very good. So we'll let you know when the unit's gonna arrive, and then we will, even though we're trying to do this over a weekend when we're closed and Monday, we will give a notice to the public just in case all of the electrical or the hookups or some of the mechanical items do not go over in this short period of time, because you have a lot of people that have to work together and be there and have everything work perfectly, and we do have some old equipment up there. So we'll give a notice to the public just in case something happens and we can't be open on Tuesday. I don't think it will happen, but we'll just do that to make people aware. So our last item dealing with tax items is the mill rate comparison of Pittsfield versus other communities in the state of Maine. And I did a report last year, I said I would come back this year. And so when we looked at the report last year, it's based upon 2016 information, because these reports run a couple of years late. And so our tax rate was the 58th highest tax rate in the state of Maine of all of the towns and plantations. And then for the 2017, we've done much better. We are at the 83rd highest tax rate in the state. So that means for that particular year, we had a good valuation increase. Maybe the TIFs worked out to help us with that, tax increment financing districts, and our budget probably was lower than a lot of other towns' budgets were. So when the next report comes in, I'll let you know. So this is good news, because we were always running in the 50s for years, and we did well for a number of years and got up into the 80s to the hundreds, and now we're back to 83rd in the last report that was available. So that gives you an idea of the tax rate here and how it compares to the other towns. And it's always been this way, because you have so much non-taxable property here. It is amazing. And we're very fortunate to have all these assets, but there's also a cost to doing that too. For your budget calendar for 2020, we'll be coming up here to a number of important meetings. The first workshop of the town council to go over the budget will be on October 22nd, 2019. And that will be a review of the overall expenditure budget, review of the revenue budget, and the capital budget. Those are usually really big items overall, especially the capital budget. That meeting would start at 6:30. So all the council meetings would be at 6:30, regardless if they're a workshop or a regular meeting. And then at the regular meeting, the workshop is afterwards. But the meeting does start at 6:30. And then the next finance committee meeting, oh my, it says October 31st. We'll have to see if that's something that you want to do or not. And then after that, we go to November 6th, 2019. And that will be a Wednesday, because the election is on the same day as the council meeting, and that happens once in a while, usually every other year. But it has happened 2 years in a row. And so that will be going over all of the administrative accounts, unclassified, general assistance insurances, municipal building, items like that. And then we've got a whole schedule. The schedule has been on the website since day one when it was approved, and is still on there. Number 13. The 2020-21 Maine Department of Transportation Capital Plan. I'm going to mention that again because this is amazing that and I want to make sure everybody hears that we do have all of our safety and infrastructure improvements at the airport for the design, permitting, and construction of an 8-bay nested T-hangar. And, you know, based upon the FAA requirements, we locally would think this was overbuilt, but in order to get the grant money, which is considerable, 90% from the federal government, 5% from the state government, and then 5% from the town. Where can you get a grant in which 95% is paid up? So the price that's listed is $1.4 million for the overall project. There is a lot of paving that will be taking place on Route 2 in many towns, including in Pittsfield. There are a lot of bridge rehab projects on the I-95 overpasses in Pittsfield. Crack sealing at the runway and taxiway, and it still includes, luckily, the Main Street rehabilitation project. However, the budget still remains at the original amount of $617,500. So DOT is still working on that project. 14, we came across some grant opportunities for recreation and skating rink, and contact has been made regarding the possibilities for the skating rink. And my last item, number 15, is to report on our largest grants. It's always interesting how all the grant deadlines and when the grants come is all different times, but in the end, people move those deadlines around, like the federal government moving a deadline up by 45 days. So everything happens at once. So we are closing out the CDGB Community Development Block Grant of $260,000 for innovative specialties at long last. So we did all the closeout paperwork, put all the package of information box together, sent the paperwork to the town auditor to verify, and then that will go off to the Department of Economic Community Development. And then once that's off the books, we can go in and apply for another CDGB grant. Right now we're restricted because we've got 2 of them on the books. So that will be good. So we're glad that DECD decided that we can close that off. Then the CDGB for Main Street, we have successfully applied for an amendment. So we have 2 more years to do the project because we've been waiting for MDOT. They have a large rehabilitation project for Main Street taking place. And so our little sidewalk, which is a great sidewalk because it'll be along the area by Pop-On-Overs and Biddles and going all the way down to MCI and as far as we can get down to the back entrance of the industrial park. So to us, that's a great big project, but in terms of the overall MDOT project, it's a small little component. So that, we have the amendment, but the MDOT survey was supposed to arrive yesterday and did not. So we've asked for an update. As soon as we get the survey, CES Inc. said that they would, that's our engineer, said that they would start immediately on the design. We'll convene a CDGB advisory committee of people who had signed up way back when and see who's still interested and get new members. And then go out and tour the area before winter so everybody's on the same wavelength and knows what's going to take place. We can go out with the engineer, get some ideas, set a timetable, have a public session, and keep on going. That one's $250,000. And then we've got, I didn't print it off, but the Northern Border Regional Commission grant paperwork got moved up. So our project is completed, but we're waiting for information from the engineer. And so, you know, I cleaned up my office, so it was very, didn't have many boxes in it at all, but we did lug in all the boxes on all the grants, so they're all back there again. So hopefully we'll get the paperwork from the engineer, and then we can put those away, and we'll file all the paperwork and get that done. And then we'll be open to get other grants. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next is new business.
Resolution 19-97, resolved that the town council approve and authorize the town manager to sign the application agreement for the grant and aid program for the Department of Conservation, Bureau of Parks and Lands snowmobile program for an estimated project of $41,781 to improve the snowmobile trails for the Driftbusters Snowmobile Club.
Look for a motion from the council.
Move to adopt resolution 19-97.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Audience, anyone in the audience wish to comment on resolution 19-97? Anyone? No? Okay, I'll turn it over to council. Council, questions or comments concerning this resolution?
This is just pass through, right, Catherine?
It's a pass-through for the Driftbusters for their maintenance
This is what we do every
based
year.
upon the state reimbursements, and they always do a great job with this.
Any questions? No? Okay, not hearing any. Since you're ready to vote, all those in favor of resolution 19-97, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that resolution passes.
Resolution 19-98, resolved that the town council waive the bid policy, Chapter 2, Administrative Code, Section 106, and approve the proposal for the preventive maintenance service contract for the energy management system and temperature controls of the HVAC system at the Pittsfield Public Library, and authorize the town manager to execute the contract with Mechanical Services Incorporated, Main Controls, for a 3-year period beginning January 1st, 2020, 1/1/20 through 12/31/22, for services not to exceed $4,050, with $675 to be invoiced in 6 semi-annual amounts.
I'll look for a motion.
Move we adopt resolution 19-98.
Second.
Moved in second. Questions or comments? Audience, anyone in the audience have a question? Yes, sir. I know who you are, but please identify yourself.
Marginais, 127 School Street. Why is the bid process being waived? And I noticed in the counselor's package that it says, stated that that company was the only company that could provide the service.
Yes, it's a proprietary system, so we've been told, and this is the contractor that installed it, we've been told that this is the contractor that we have to have because it is a proprietary system for the temperature and energy management part of it only. It's probably something that was put in when the architect did the project for the library, for the Friends of the Library in the town. It's something that the architect put in that we probably should not have done, but didn't realize it at the time, similar to a couple of other items. The overall project was wonderful, but there were a few items that we would never do again. So that's why. Luckily, the price has not gone up since the last 3-year contract. It's $1,350 per year, and I believe that 3 years prior to that, it was the same price too.
Any other questions from the audience concerning resolution 19-98? No? Okay, I'll turn it over to council. Councilors, questions or comments? Any questions? No? Okay, not hearing any, since you're ready to vote, all those in favor of resolution 19-98, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that resolution passes as well.
Resolution 19-99, resolved that the town council authorize the town manager and deputy treasurer to advertise the town of Pittsfield surplus property sale and accept bids after consultation with the department head supervisors, which are felt to be appropriate for the surplus property in question, in accordance with the amounts depicted in the bid policy.
We'll look for a motion from the council.
Move it.
Move we adopt resolution 19-99.
Second.
Moved and second. Questions or comments? Audience, anyone in the audience wish to comment on resolution 19-99? No? Okay, not hearing any, I'll turn it over to the council. Councilors, questions or comments?
Does the council accept the bids? Does it come back to the council with the bids, or do you just accept?
To save time and because some of this is sort of housekeeping, we put it down so that the items that fall under the bid policy that when the department heads bring in, or I have an item that's a purchase that's under $7,500, the town manager can approve it. So the only item on this list likely would be the Sterling roll-off truck that would have to come back to the town, because it should be over $7,500, because that is still working. It does have some issues, but if the town has something on its surplus property list, it has issues. So all the rest of these items could be accepted by the town. When we did that before, it worked out well, because we would check on the bids and what they were, and then find out what the surplus would be if we took it to the metal shop, cut it up, hauled it, figured out the cost, and then if it was, better to accept the bid, we would accept the bid. If it was better to haul it off, we hauled it off. So that worked out pretty good. And Donnie's very good at estimating out those.
Okay, any other questions, councils, concerning this? Questions or comments? No? Okay, not hearing any, since you're ready to vote, all those in favor of resolution 19-99, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that resolution passes.
Resolution 19-100. Resolved that the town council appoint Ann Goodblood as addressing officer for the town of Pittsfield.
Look for motion.
Move we adopt resolution 19-100.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Audience, anyone in the audience this evening have any questions concerning resolution 19-100? No? No questions? No comments? Okay, I'll turn it over to the councilors. Councilors, questions or comments?
This is not a position that I remember ever having to appoint somebody to. Is this because we had staff changes or just reshuffling?
No, we haven't
duties?
had anybody for quite a period of time. Basically, Mike Havey, who works at the transfer station, goes out and measures all these, but he does not want to be the addressing agent. So we called up to make some changes because we had a citizen come forward that had brought forth some good comments. And so when we called up, we were told we needed to have an addressing agent. So we went.
So she just assigns
Yeah,
the address.
she
to
volunteered to do it, and
Oh.
she's very precise, so that would be good.
Thank you.
So she would determine like mailbox numbers?
Yeah, it would be the E911. So it's let's say we have a new house and we need a number. Under the ordinance, the assessor and the code enforcement officer are in charge of the ordinance, but and Mike Havey goes out and checks on everything because he's really good at this. He does an excellent job at it. But we need to have somebody in the office who's going to use the computer and send in all the changes and take the training and everything.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And that way we've got multiple people involved so we can make sure it's correct.
Okay, any other questions or comments concerning this resolution, councilors?
You would remember this, you started later after we went through and changed everybody's addresses, because you would remember it.
Well, I remember it in our town when we did it.
Beautiful.
It's a big event.
Yeah. Somebody's had the same address for 35 years and now it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes over like a lead balloon in a circus.
It didn't really matter until the mailman got done.
Bill collectors always find a way. All right, any other questions or comments concerning resolution 19-100? Okay, now hearing it, since you're ready to vote, all those in favor of resolution 19-100, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, that resolution passes.
Resolution 19-101. Resolved that the town council appoint Nicole Nicolan as warden and Ann Goodblood, Michelle Hopkins, Michael Fioli, and Emily Reed as deputy wardens for the November 5th, 2019 state referendum election, municipal election, and MSAD number 53 budget referendum.
Look for a motion from the council.
Move we adopt resolution 19-101.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Audience, anyone in the audience wish to comment on resolution 19-101? Anyone at all? No? Okay, now hearing any councilors, questions or comments concerning resolution 19-101? Okay, now hearing any, since you're ready to vote, all those in favor of resolution 19-101, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, that resolution passes as well.
Resolution 19-102. Resolved that the town council approve the opening of absentee ballots on November 5th, 2019 at 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. for the November 5th, 2019 state referendum election, municipal election, and the MSAD number 53 budget referendum.
Look for motion.
Move we adopt resolution 19-102.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Audience, anyone in the audience this evening wish to comment on resolution 19-102? Anyone at all? No? Okay, now hearing any, I'll turn over to council. Councilors, questions or comments concerning resolution 19-102? No? Okay, now hearing any, since you're ready to vote, all those in favor of resolution 19-102, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that resolution passes.
Resolution 19-103. Resolved that the town council move the regularly scheduled town council meeting of Tuesday, November 5th, 2019 to Wednesday, November 6th, 2019 due to the election.
Look for motion.
Move to adopt resolution 19-103.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Audience, anyone in the audience wish to comment on resolution 19-103? I didn't think there was a lot of concerned looks out there. All right, not hearing any, I'll turn over to council's questions or concerns concerning this resolution. Any comments? No? Okay, not hearing any, I sense you're ready to vote. All those in favor of resolution 19-103, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that resolution passes. Next is discussion items. And we'll go right down to reports.
Yeah, there are no reports because the expenditures would be on the second meeting.
Reports is next. Audience, anyone in the audience wish to speak this evening? Please identify yourself. I might have known you for all 61 of my glorious, wonderful years of life. But in case somebody was watching this online and want to know who you were, please state your name. Anyone in the audience wish to speak? Yes, sir.
John Chadwick, 461 Peltoma. Small question, but big in my mind. We're scheduled to be, this road in front of my house is scheduled to be resurfaced this year, I'm told. Winter is coming. I'm a little bit anxious. What is the plan? I know you're up at Snake Root Road now doing that. And somebody told me the asphalt plant was closing the 15th of the month.
Okay, they never closed that early, so it's likely November 15th.
Okay.
So don't worry about that. The paving is supposed to start tomorrow. It's gotten delayed by, it's been raining out a little bit, and the contractor is a bit behind in another town. But I was told tomorrow is the day, and so they'll start. They can start on Peltoma or Snake Road. I'm not sure which one they're starting on. Originally they were going to Peltoma. I'm not sure if they're not going to Snake Road first. But yes, you can pave as long as the temperatures are up enough, and that would be strictly checked on by the town.
Okay. My concern is that living on Peltoma and the amount of truck traffic that we have, I mean, both in quantity and weight. We have triaxles of log trucks. We have 16-yard gravel trucks by the dozens, and then we have all the garbage and that for the dump or for the recycling, along with the commercial stuff. And that is a busy road for a town road. So
that's why it was chosen as the #1 road to be paved.
Good. I'm glad you feel that way. Yeah.
Feel better?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Please, satisfied customer. Mark that down.
Not done yet.
My taxes are paid for the year.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience wish to speak this evening? Anyone at all? I don't want to cut you off. Yes, sir.
Jim Chincat, I just would like to comment on the presentation by the theater committee. I think the ladies have done a tremendous amount of work. They've done spending a lot of time, and it shows with their report. That was a fantastic number reduction, and I applaud all of their work. They're doing a great job.
The reason I said I would vote for that budget, if it come to me and those numbers are the same, is because what we asked them to do is reduce the budget. If they've reduced it successfully, so it's in a area that we can live with, then that's why I would vote for it, because they did what they was asked to do. And I thank you for all that work as well. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak this evening? No? Okay, I'll turn it over to councils, and I'll start with Heather.
Thank you. I would echo the thanks to the theater committee for the work that they've been doing, as well as the work that Jamie's been putting in, trying to update things and get things rolling. Everybody kind of walked in. We have a lot of new theater committee members and a new theater manager, so I think everybody's walking in with fresh eyes and having to kind of relearn a lot of these things. Also thank Annalise for the water systems presentation. It's a very complicated thing. I don't think any of us understand it fully. So it's always informative when they come in and tell us how it operates. Reminder that Open Creamery Day is Sunday, October 13th. There's 14 creameries across the state that are open. Hours vary. Most hours are 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. We'll have farm tours and sampling, and we're trying to get some other farm friends to come and join us. So I need to work on that a little bit more. Also, Farm to Farmer Conference is coming up. This is an annual conference put on by MOFGA. The conference takes place over at the Northport Conference Center, and it draws people from all over the Northeast and across the country for presentations as well as learning, and it's basically farmers presenting to other farmers. There's extended, instead of a typical like 1 hour presentation, sometimes it's a 2 or 3 hour block where you can really get in-depth information from people. And this year they have pre-conference activities, which always includes farm tours. And this year Balfour Farm and Snake Root Farm are two of the featured farms for tours. And also North Spore Mushroom Farm down in Westbrook will be featured. So our farm tour is at 3 p.m. at Balfour Farm. Snake Root Farm will be earlier in the day at 1 p.m. and that's open to the public. They only charge if you're riding the bus from Northport out to the areas. So
What date is that?
that is Saturday, November 2nd. Yeah, so that's coming up too, and looking forward to all the farm events that are coming up. Interesting things happening in town in the fall with the trunk or treat and all those other things coming up.
I was thinking we almost can promote ourselves as, for having fall festivals, because all these events are headed in toward October and November.
All right, thank you. Anything else? No, thank you. Howard?
I just want to thank the theater committee also for their presentation and the work that they're doing. I feel that, well, I hope this isn't too little too late from the point of view of a building that's long overdue for repairs, and that certainly will have to be considered in your overall plan going forward. I wish that this had been done several years earlier when we saw that the budget was getting out of control. But the powers that be didn't take care of it. So we're in the situation now, and I hope that we can work our way out of it. I thank everybody for the attention that they paid to the bicentennial during this year, and hope that we can finish up the year on a positive note. Thank the folks in the audience for coming today, and that's about it.
Thank you, Howard.
Yeah.
Matt?
Yeah, I'd just like to, echo everybody else. Thank you for giving us the report to the theater committee. I'm with Mayor Nichols. I support that budget completely. Done an awesome job. The hard work is really starting to pay off, and things are really starting to come together. As far as the 501c3, I'm full supporter of that as well. I'd like to see, eventually the town, give up more and more of the responsibility and let the powers be to the committee itself, and kind of let them be able to make their own decisions, so that the town doesn't hold them back as much as we have in the past. That's just my own opinion. Obviously the building is the big black cloud over the whole thing, but I think that we can continue to do some repairs and maybe prolong the building's life while we're looking at either replacing it, a different location. We've discussed all sorts of things, but you got to have a business before you can buy equipment, so I think we got to walk before we run. So I think we're all headed in the right direction. I hope the continues for next 2020 year. That's it.
Thank you, Matt. Bob?
Hold on. One of the things last meeting, a gentleman came in and talked about the problem with the horses with the Amish. Has that been addressed, Catherine, or
All right,
did they get
so,
spoken to or talked
yeah,
to?
as we've discussed at prior meetings, first we have to identify who the individuals are that we will go talk to, and then a gentleman needs to go talk to them due to their culture.
Okay. I'd like to thank Annalise for her presentation. One of the things she brought up was the work that Chris has done. I'd like to thank Chris for his hard work, stepping up and really taking over that department while in the departure of Scott. Sounds like he's done a great job.
He's actually enjoying it now. He didn't in the beginning, though.
And I'd just like to see somebody from the town thank him for that also. Jen, thank you for your presentation. The theater committee's come a long way. You guys have done some hard work and it shows. And along with Tim and Matt, I think I will probably support that budget, if that's the budget that's going to be presented. I don't see why we couldn't do that. And I'd like to send my condolences to the Jones family. I see Barbara passed away. Bud just passed away 3-4 weeks ago. Now Barbara's gone, so my condolences to them. Catherine, thank you for your hard work upstairs and the staff upstairs for all their hard work.
Thank you.
And I'd like to send another thank you to Tom out in the farm for stepping up and willing to present this class on the composting. I think that's great. And that's all I have this evening.
All right, thank you, Bob. I won't be very long. Again, I want to thank Annalise for coming in. I know we're repeating ourselves here. Thank you to the theater committee. I do, I always like the idea of having a community theater, but I realize that, a 501c3, I'm in favor of that because I think that, we had it, but I think it's more efficient to have somebody out there in the private entity own it than just the town. I think they'll handle it better. It's almost like having a rent, you know what I mean? You can have a rent, but it's not the same as owning your own house. And, we asked them to reduce the budget and come up with ideas, and they did it, and that's why, if that budget's presented, I will vote yes. Because you've done exactly what we've asked you to do. There's a lot of work involved in that. We had to get it down where we can afford it, and I think we're going to, and I think going forward, if people can see, the reason I vote for that is because in another year, I think you'll be well on your way to a 501c3. I think, you just need a little bit of a bridge there. And I think people will come out and support some kind of a restoration project like they did with the public library, they did with the swimming pool. It may take some time, but I think it'll happen. Right? However it turns out, that's... the other thing is that, like I said, my condolences go out to the Jones family. That's a tough loss. I've known Bud and Barbara my whole life, and they're very good, decent people, so my condolences go out to their family. On this supplemental, and Tom Roberts, appreciate him be willing to step up and teach that. That's a good class to have, and the assistant people will go to that. I was looking at the surplus equipment. I'm just thinking, I know it's old, but geez, I was thinking maybe that tanker truck would make some farmer a good, it's got a 1,500 gallon tank on it. That might make a farmer some kind of a good piece of equipment.
That's why we're going to promote it.
Yeah, because then you're always looking for things. So that's awesome. And I'm looking forward to the peak meeting. Mr. Gray, looking forward to the peak meeting. And
you'll be in for a surprise.
Kick me if I look sleepy because I got to work the night before. But
There's
that's
always
okay.
surprises at those meetings.
And things are moving along. The other thing is, and I don't want to throw cold water on anything, and I'm not wishing bad luck, but I've been watching the weather forecast, and geez, Montana and up in Canada, they're getting snow, and snow, and snow. Wyoming got a foot. It's coming, folks. And when it comes, we got to keep an eye on our elderly neighbors, and just kind of keep an eyeball out for some of the people that are, that are on fixed incomes and stuff, and make sure that, we do it anyway, but just to throw that out there that I think if the Farmers Almanac's any indication, I think it's going to be a little colder than last year. I think we're going to have a lot of snow, so get your studded snow tires ready. Otherwise than that, I have nothing else, and I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Move adjourned.
So here a second. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I've been here since 1997, I have not heard anybody say nay to that yet.
One time, Tim, one time.
One time.
Somebody says nay.
Thanks for the info.
Oh, you're welcome. I wish you had just
I
called.
haven't had a chance to meet you. I haven't been to one of these meetings
Nice
so
to meet you.
long. Stop me. I'll be here more often. I want to run things.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I don't know how much longer I'll be running things, because I've been here a long time, but yeah, no. And, I just, people